Yeah, well, I have Oliver going earlier to the Jets, and I know the Eagles really like Ed Oliver. They had him in for one of their top 30 pre-draft visits, and there's a lot to like about him. I had a terrific workout. He did have that issue with his head coach. Could be a maturity thing. Teams are going to have to do their homework to see what happened there, see what his maturity level is, to see if that was kind of a one-time only situation and what the reason was behind it. But I like Ed Oliver a whole lot, and so do the Eagles. And for some reason, he has been picked as a kind of a candidate to slide down draft boards a little bit. I don't think it will happen. I think the Eagles brought him in thinking, hey, if he's sitting there still at number 13, 14, 15, maybe we try to move up and grab Oliver at that point. But, I think he's gone at this point for the Jags. So it wouldn't surprise me if the Jags take some kind of an offensive tackle, maybe Juwan Taylor from Florida.
So, speaking of Oliver, is Ollie saying hi to us, Adam?
Yes, that is Ollie in the background saying hi.
Hey, well, I know you're doing daddy duty, and it's his birthday. Any final thoughts on and tell Ollie we said hi, and he's welcome on the show anytime. I got a feeling that he's a Buckeye and a Browns fan. He doesn't even know it yet. That's neither here nor there. Yeah, but Adam, what are your final thoughts on the draft, sir?
I think this is going to be one of those drafts that is really heavy on I think it's going to be short on all pros, but you're going to see a lot of talent, guys that are borderline Pro Bowlers are going to be in this draft. Lots of really solid talent with a lack of superstars. That's the one thing that I've seen in watching tape of kind of the top flight guys. They're really good, don't get me wrong, but I think they're not as good as some of the ones in the past.
All right, Adam Jebedian, super Browns fan. Thanks for jumping on with us on Easter weekend. You have yourself a good Easter, sir.
Thanks, Tom. You too, buddy.
All right, bye.
Bye-bye.
Adam Jebedian, mega super Browns fan. Love to have him on. Full disclosure, we're good friends. We've known each other for a long time, former colleagues. But appreciate him jumping on his son's birthday. Ed, let's go on into the Detroit Lions, number 8. I think a lot of people think that Marquis Sweat, I think is the guy I'm thinking of. I know his last name is Sweat. But citing Tree Flowers was a smart move. But I think adding Sweat gives the team the dynamic duo on the outside. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I know just recently there have been some concerns that cropped up with Montez Sweat. I think he had what was diagnosed as some kind of a heart issue at the combine.
I heard that,
yeah, and that's given some teams enough cause for concern that some teams have taken him off of their first round board. I don't know if that's the case with the Lions. You look at Matt Patricia, the head coach, defensive guy. Could they use some more weapons for Matthew Stafford? Yeah, for sure. They traded away Golden Tate to the Eagles last year. They could use a receiver, but there's really no receiver to fall in love with here. I mean, I think the Lions could be a candidate maybe to trade down, later into the first round, back in the teens perhaps, and maybe grab a receiver there, depending again on how they feel about Montez Sweat. I think if Montez Sweat checked out for them and they're not concerned about the heart issue, then they probably take him.
Joining us now is Mo from the BS Sports Show and 104.9 The Eagle in the huge metropolitan of Lima, Ohio. That's right. I'll get it right. Mo, how are you just? We were just talking a little bit earlier with Adam, and I know that by default you cover both the Bears and the Browns, and that's kind of your gig. But looking at the Browns, I know we're going to backtrack a little bit, but looking at the Browns, what are your thoughts about the Browns going into the draft? We're doing our official NFL balanced mock draft. We're at number 8. We just talked about Montez Sweat to the Lions, so feel free to give us your first 7 picks if you want to. But I know that you cover the Browns and the Bears, so what are your thoughts on those two prospective teams?
Well, I mean, John Dorsey obviously, he likes to make deals, and he likes to get a lot of value for whatever he's doing. I think there will be a chance that if there's nobody on the draft board, like John Dorsey said yesterday, that the Browns will accumulate more picks if they need to. This is the first time in a long time that they haven't drafted in the first round or even at the top of the draft. So I think it's going to be strange for Browns fans to see what happens. There's a few weaknesses here and there on the Browns, but I think John Dorsey definitely will address them. And it's going to be fun to watch after watching what he did in the offseason to definitely see as he prepares to fill some of these holes and make this team hopefully in Cleveland Browns fans' mind a Super Bowl contender.
What are the Bears doing?
Well, I think that's probably a little harder question. They definitely could still use some guys at defensive back and safety. They struggled in that area last year. Other than Tariq Cohen, the running game struggled a little bit. Now, Jordan Howard is off to the Eagles, but I wouldn't be surprised. I don't know that Tariq Cohen can be an every down back just because of his size. Not taking anything away from the kid because he's amazing, but he's a guy that I don't think you want to get that much wear and tear on him on his body. So they could look to fill a hole at running back, but they had a successful season last year. Now they've got to figure out how to build on it going forward. So it'll be interesting because let's be honest, there's been some times that you've in the last couple of years that you wonder what the hell the Bears are doing, but they got Khalil Mack signed up for a long time, so now it's time to try to build this team into a team that advances past the first round of the playoffs.
And let's get back on track with our pick here. We're at number 9 with the Dolphins. I think, again, going with my my projected trades, if you will, I think that they trade with the Bills. The Dolphins move ahead of Cincinnati, Denver, and Washington to get their future starter while Bridge, the quarterback, Ryan Fitzpatrick, runs things through 2019. What are your thoughts? Dwayne Haskins, quarterback. As we said earlier, we're not really that excited about the quarterback class this year, but Dwayne Haskins, middle of the pack, the Dolphins, not really a bad choice. I don't think so, anyway.
So we're on pick 13 here, the Dolphins pick.
We're on pick 9 with the Dolphins pick because my projection is that the Dolphins move ahead of Cincinnati, Denver, and Washington to get Dwayne Haskins. That's my thought. But you know better than I.
Not really. I mean, it could happen. I guess it could. I mean, like I said earlier, teams fall in love with the quarterbacks the closer you get to the draft. And if they think Dwayne Haskins can be their guy, he's probably better than Ryan Fitzpatrick at this point. Or the Dolphins, they could go away from a quarterback. It almost seems like they're tanking the season a little bit, and, in hopes maybe next year there's a quarterback, figuring they'll be picking in the top 3, perhaps, or top 5 anyway, that they can grab a quarterback next year if someone comes out that they like. Maybe Jared Lawrence will be available next year. I'm not sure if he would be eligible from Clemson, but if he comes out next year, of course he's going to be the real hot commodity, based on the kind of year he'll probably have this fall. So maybe the Dolphins don't take a quarterback here, and they just sit tight and stay where they are and try to, address some other needs like a defensive lineman or even an offensive lineman. They could probably sit there and maybe get a Rashawn Gary or maybe an Andre Dillard, the offensive tackle from Washington State. At 13, if you're a team, you don't want to overthink it when it comes to quarterbacks, unless you're absolutely in love with a quarterback. But I'm not sure I would do that if I was them. I would sit tight and just draft somebody that I need on the offensive or defensive line at 13.
Mo, we talked early, the very first part of this hour here in round 1, and that's Kyle Murray. And Ed was just talking about overthinking the quarterback situation. I think Arizona's completely okay with Josh Rosen. They're going to go with Kyler Murray. It's one of those scenarios that it's just going to happen, and it's going to happen. But it is the best decision for the Arizona Cardinals.
Well, I mean, when you're a new coach coming in, you definitely want to have the guy you feel that you can be successful with because your job depends on it. And let's be honest, Josh Rosen, I don't think last year really had a chance to succeed. The Arizona Cardinals offensive line was absolutely terrible. There was, already a lame duck coach in there. I don't think Josh Rosen, honestly, in my opinion, was given the chance to succeed. However, we've seen it with John Gruden in the past too. Coaches fall in love with quarterbacks, like Ed just said, and I really think that Cliff Kingsbury loves Kyler Murray. And if you can draft Kyler Murray at 1 and then pull off another number 1 first-round pick for Josh Rosen who you drafted last year, why wouldn't you do that? I think that's best case scenario. Get the guy in there, that your head coach wants, and if you can get a late first round out of Josh Rosen, why not? Pull the trigger. Let's see what happens. Let's have some fun.
Mo, we talked earlier about John Elway and the Broncos never been able to do right in the quarterback situation, so they don't have that problem this year. At the number 10 pick, one would think that the top 4 quarterbacks are off the board, so Denver picks an elite tight end, which might be very good what they need, and that's T.J. Hockenson from the Big Ten School of Iowa. I think that Denver picks – you got Joe Flacco anyway. So, Joe Flacco's not – he's old, but he's not washed up yet. So I think T.J. Hoskins is a good target for Flacco, Mo.
Yeah, and Flacco's had success with young tight ends. At this point, to me, though, Denver just seems like a mess. It really does. And, I wouldn't be shocked if the Broncos aren't good, that Von Miller is moved, or they try to move him at some point, in the year. So, a tight end would be nice, but I think that the Broncos are just a mess at this point. And it's weird how it reminds me of Michael Jordan not being able to really gauge talent when he was drafting folks. The fact that John Elway has had zero success drafting a quarterback.
Ed, what are your thoughts? John Elway just needs to stay out of the draft room and have a cocktail and watch what happens, because he certainly doesn't seem to be have a good success factor. What are your thoughts? Flacco, is their quarterback? Let's not mess with something. Let's not fix something that's not broke, and let's get him a nice target. As Mo said, he has good success with young tight ends. I wish I could say the same thing, but anyway, go ahead.
Well, I think the Broncos do need a quarterback at some point. They need a developmental guy because, Flacco, of course, I think he's in his mid-30s now, so, he's not going to play forever. So you need to develop a quarterback. I just think, you just can't keep taking quarterbacks in the first round if you're a team that's chasing a quarterback like we're going to see the Cardinals do. Just imagine for a second, Mo says talk about let's have some fun. What if the Cardinals don't take Kyler Murray and Kyler Murray's, still sitting there at the second pick? Imagine how much fun we'd have then to see how the draft boards fall and who tries to scramble up to get him at number 2 and some trades we might see. So that would be really fun if they were to, flummox everybody and pick Nick Bosa or, Quinnen Williams or one of those guys instead of Kyler Murray. But that would be some fun. But, getting back to the Broncos, I think you could see if John Elway's smart, you probably should address the defense. That defense is kind of hasn't been up to par, and maybe you take a linebacker here. I think Devin White, based on what we've talked about so far, could still be available. I don't think anybody's talked about him going earlier, because I think Ed Oliver will go in the top 10, and that pushes the linebacker down even further. So, I think the Broncos could go for Devin White here at this position, because I think Hockenson will be off the board. I think the Bills will stay at 9 and take T.J. Hockenson to give Josh Allen kind of that tight end security blanket that a lot of young quarterbacks like to have.
Well, if Kyler Murray doesn't go number 1, it'd be like Ariana not ending up on the throne at the end of season 8. Oh, that's my bold prediction there.
What?
Are you guys not Game of Thrones fans? Come on, Mo.
No, if Kyler Murray gets passed up by the Arizona Cardinals, John Gruden will have an erection that will never go away.
One of those. If you have one that lasts longer than 7 hours, go to a doctor. Now, I got to clear this up. Are you both telling me you've never seen a single episode of Game of Thrones?
Not one.
Me neither.
Not one. Oh my God.
Not one. So
I got to do this Game of Thrones reference. Shame. So I am guilty. I talked about this earlier. I'm a huge Game of Thrones fan. I started it early, and then I fell off the bandwagon, got busy with life. And then I was like, holy cow, the last season of Game of Thrones